you want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today. Fogham. You can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV. Do you want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today. Fogham. You can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV.
Good evening. This is the voice of AAU. My name is Leonard Lee. I will be your host tonight. I am substituting for my dear friend, Dr. Yvette Butler, and her husband, my dear brother, Akoba Yeboah. Joining me as co-host is Professor Zaki Amir, aka the Invisible Man.
you want to promote your business? Do you want to talk about your nonprofit organization? Do you want to talk about your culture? Introducing the online web TV, Afrique Today. Fogham. You can watch us live at the same time on 4 platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and using the Afrique Today app. Download our app today for Android or Apple. Promote your business today. For more information, go to www.afriquetoday.com. Afrique Today, the best of digital TV.
Jamais, jamais, nous disons stop à la vente de nos terres. Jamais, jamais, ne cédons pas au chantage et belles paroles. L'héritage que nos ancêtres nous ont légué, ce n'est pas l'argent, les voitures et maisons. Pour assurer la survie de nos familles, c'est la forêt et la terre. Misi et bon, elle est baillon c'est ma eie. Misi bonne ni te heni, elle est baillon c'est ma eie. Et ma coubasia n'a comme un bon manioko.
Hello everyone. Hello, do you hear me? I don't know what happened with the host, and it looked like his computer down. I don't have a connection with the host. I don't know where. Invisible Man, do you know where is the host?
Élevons nos voix, chantons sur tous les toits, pour que demain soit plus clair. Si t'entends ma voix, la voix des sans-voix, ce qu'on a de plus cher, ce sont nos terres.
Good evening. We apologize for the technical difficulties. Let's go straight to it. If you want to learn more about the history and origin of a people, a place, a country, then a museum offers very enlightening insight through the collection of art, artifacts, and other objects. And indeed, on Monday, September the 21st, 2020, the President of Ghana, other global leaders, and notable personalities will launch the building of the Pan-African Heritage World Museum. The launch of this project seems to be in line with the President's efforts to welcome people of African descent all over the diaspora back to Ghana. But do we need another black museum? To help us answer that question, we are here in honor to have as one of our guests the brainchild of the Pan-African Heritage World Museum, the Honorable Dr. Joe Yanka. Dr. Yanka is a journalist, creative writer, author, Pan-Africanist, and founder of the African University College of Communication in Accra, Ghana. The Honorable Kojo Yanka, most recent book, From Jamestown to Jamestown, Letters to an African Child, helped shape the narrative for the 2019 year of return. We are also honored to have with us this evening Dr. Joseph H. Silver. Dr. Silver, in fact, is very familiar with Dr. Yanka's work and is actually the vice chairman of the board of the vice chairman of the USA board for the museum. He actually has oversight of all of the USA activities in the USA team. Dr. Silver, first let me congratulate you on becoming the president of Silver & Associates, which is a full-service educating consulting firm for the past 15 years. He has been solving problems of accreditation and other issues for colleges and universities all across this country. Dr. Silver has been a president of Alabama State University, also the provost and vice president of academic affairs at Clark Atlanta University. He is a recipient of the Leadership Award for the American Association of Blacks in Higher Education, and in fact, the association's award now bears his name. Dr. Silver, the Honorable Kojo Yanka, we welcome you this evening. So let's get straight to it. Dr. Yanka, Africa has the House of Slaves in Senegal. It has the Egyptian Museum in Egypt, the Apartheid Museum in South Africa, the Nairobi National Museum in Kenya, as well as the Benin National Museum in Nigeria, among others. Why the Pan-African Heritage World Museum? Why Ghana? And why now?
That you mentioned are talking about slave trade and slavery. They all have a story to tell. But what is lacking in Africa is a museum that tells also the story of African people when they were taken away from the continent to other parts of the world. No museum in Africa has that. Similarly, the number of African Americans and people of African descent who come to Ghana know Africa only through the movies and the kind of images that are brought to them. And except when they have the opportunity to come to Africa and visit places like Ghana and some of the museums that you mentioned. But that is not history. It is not also a continuation of the struggle of our peoples in the past, in the early 20th century, to bring us all together, to fight for social justice, to fight for equality. Our story has not been told. All that we have read through books and in various circumstances have been books that have been written by other people about us. But in the last 20, 30 years, there has been a mountain volumes of books written, researched by Africans, written by Africans, published by Africans about us, and very little of books written by African Americans are in Africa, or the continent. Again, very little of the books written by Africans are also available in the diaspora. So we do not know much about it either. There has been miseducation. We are all looking different ways, but we are suffering the same fate, more or less. Not only are we seeing the symbolism regarding the chokehold on the George Floyd and others. But we are also seeing on the continent of Africa the rapid deterioration of conditions in spite of the riches that they have. So we've lost everything, and we are losing our culture. We are losing the benefit of the achievements and inventions of our own people. So the idea is now to bring a museum together that is bringing all these together. Let's go back to our history. Let's go back to the origin of man. Now it's become very clear that man first was created in Africa. It's some time ago, we would not have believed this because Africans were made to think that their history began only from slavery. But for the past 20, 30 years, a lot of work has been done, and it's important to bring all these together. So we are putting this museum together with other facilities to provide a kind of a healing camp for us to be able to go through our history, well documented, well curated, not anybody's history, but the way we've seen ourselves over the years from creation of mankind up till today. So in essence, that is what the story is about. It is important to be told. And in Ghana, because everybody knows that Ghana, from our first president, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, lit the candle for liberation on the continent. And Ghana has had a number of activities and programs aimed at drawing people of African descent together. It started in 1992 with PANAFEST. PANAFEST just built on PANAFEST, the Pan-African Historical Theatre Festival, which is celebrated or commemorated every other year to bring people working in the space of arts and culture from both sides of the Atlantic to come together, to share experiences, to dialogue, to hold symposium, to talk about each other with the aim of bringing the two sides together. Now, one should not forget that even before all this, way back in 1957 when we were having independence, Martin Luther King was right there. So that link has already been established. A number of African Americans and Caribbeans and people of African descent have participated in Ghana's activities. It is now time to establish a concrete monument where we will all be going, where we will all be meeting regularly to know more about each other, to understand each other, to unite our cultures, and particularly for the youth, to lift their self-confidence by knowing that, yes, we had a history that was hidden from us, we had a culture that was hidden from us, and we have a bright future ahead of us because we have all the riches, all the rich resources that we have on the continent belong to all of us. And I'm sure that in the course of time, we will find out why we have all these resources and yet we are still struggling for equality and social justice.
Speaking of resources, you've identified the fact certainly that this effort, although we all wish you well and will be rolling up our sleeves to assist, but it has to be supported by all Africans from African descent, particularly those that are throughout the diaspora. And we're certainly pleasure and honored tonight to have Dr. Silver with us and joining us. And if you will, please, Dr. Silver, why don't you please outline what your role is with the museum as being the vice chair of the USA Board of Directors, and give us a little insight as to the efforts that your board and your team on the board who will be performing to make this dream into reality.
Yeah, may I, before Dr. Silva comes in, say that it's not only overseeing the U.S. Activities, but it's also vice chair of the international board, which is across the world. Yes.
I see. Thank you for clarification.
Yes. So first of all, I want to say thank you for giving us this platform to share about the museum. Obviously, this is a great vision from the Honorable Kojo Yanka, but I think the museum itself is a gift to the world. When we began to think about Africa and the diaspora, and we think about how we have all been miseducated as it relates to Africa, this is a resetting effort to make sure that the story is told about us, but being told by us. And I think one of the great aspirations of the museum is to link African people no matter where they are, no matter where they are. So it's the entire diaspora. You listed a list of museums that exist, but they are place bound for the most part. The uniqueness of this particular museum would be to link Africa and the diaspora and to bring the contributions of everyone to the table. It is a mammoth task. It's a huge task. And one of the things that we are doing under the leadership of Mr. Yanka is creating and forging partnerships of like-minded people. And notice I said like-minded people. Going forward, we will definitely have to be on the same page. I think this is, I said on the beginning, a gift not only to posterity, but it's also celebrating the life and legacy of our ancestors. So it is a mammoth task, but it's one whose time has come.
If you would, sir, Brother Yanka, take us back to the inception of the idea itself. What was your motivation? And could you move into the area of the design of the museum, what we've seen on the brief video that was shown prior to the show opening? Take us to the actual inception of the idea and where we are relative to the approval of the designs and the location that's been selected for the museum itself.
Yes. I have had the African University College of Communication, which was founded by me in 2002. And the idea was to train a core of communicators, writers, authors, journalists who would communicate Africa. So we have a very strong Africana Studies department that gives every student the opportunity to learn on Africana Studies, African American Studies and all before they get out. But so the idea of getting Africa's story told started 2002. We got this site that is going to be used for the museum about 10 years ago. It's a 75-acre plot that is also right in the center between the capital city, Accra, and the tourist region of Cape Coast and Albina. So it's very well situated. That is going to be also the final destination of the university. So the university is going to live side by side with the museum and other facilities like the Garden of Sculptures. We're going to sculpt all the heroes and heroines and heroes that have been recorded in history. Some have been left out of history because we didn't write them. We want to bring them all up. All the resistance efforts, all those who resisted indignity from ancient times to today will be sculpted in that garden. We're also going to have a palace of kingdoms. So to bring alive all the kingdoms that Africa has had over the years, those that, in particular, those that are still surviving, so that our youth and visitors will know that, yes, we have these kingdoms. I mean, when you think about, say, the pharaohs in the Bible, you think they are somewhere in the sky, but we'll bring them alive, in this museum. We'll also have a garden of herbal plants with chalets so that people can live close to nature and our relationship with nature that started long ago. We will have a conference facilities, we will have amusement facilities, we will have lodging facilities, and of course we'll also have the university. But coming back to the design that we had, the design is a very unique one. The design that you find in our space is the sign of the horn of a ram, and the horn is the heralds the arrival of the king in Africa. So in every palace in Africa, when the king is coming, somebody blows the horn. So that is a symbol of the horn, showing that Africa is rising again. That is the whole idea, that we are back. And so it's a very inspirational symbol, and we cherish it. We also have the Adinkra symbol. That means he who does not know can know from learning, to show that all that we didn't know, now we can know. So it's like unlearning and relearning. And when you relearn, it empowers you, it inspires you. That is why this is a gift to the world. It's not just for people of African descent. Even people that are, think that, of course, if one considers that humanity started with the black, then it's real that everybody is of African descent. But even those who deny that history, when they go through the walls of what we are creating, they will find that they have been miseducated. So we expect everybody to feel he or she has the opportunity to relearn about themselves.
I want to jump in.
Excellent.
Quick, if I may. The
Please
information
do.
that was put out about the Pan-African Heritage World Museum, you touched on it a moment ago. Let me read it to you from what I have in front of me. Pan-African Heritage World Museum, to provide the resource for the unlearning and relearning the history, culture, ideals, and civilization of Africa from the creation of humankind to the present, in order to inspire a new awakening and consciousness. And you did touch on it, but I want you to speak directly to culture. What do we need to unlearn and learn about our culture? And when you finish, I want Dr. Silva to talk about how the civilization Africa is going in the present, and he's over here and looking there. Please, sir.
Yes. When we say we want to write our own history, let me simply say it this way. We in Africa learned history through the hard way. I guess the same on this side of the Atlantic. That we had no history. We were told we had no history until the Europeans came to Africa. And we learned this. Everybody went through this. And even now, I'm sure some schools are still going through the same learning process. So most of the African students and scholars and intellectuals have learned only from Columbus. Now, we go back to tell our story. What is our story? Our story is that we were created first. We had the first civilization. If you go back to history, and now even in recent times, so much has been exposed. Only yesterday I saw the tombs, some tombs that were released from Egypt several thousands of years ago. And the tombs and the bodies that are shown show clearly the faces of black people
Yes, sir.
Yes. So it's without any doubt now that story is available now. So we are going to tell the story that yes, we were the first to be created. We had the first civilization. We built all the pyramids. We built the first universities in the world. We had our kingdoms. They were trading amongst themselves until the Greeks invaded Africa and took over our history, took over our culture, and they were also invaded by the Romans. The Romans then turned everything that had been discovered or anything that we had created, they turned into white. You find that most of the Christianity started from Africa. All that they did was just to create all the characters as white. So you have all those that we see in the Bible, the images in our churches are white.
Yes, sir.
Which was not that before. So our story is saying that we had our story, and our story was interrupted by invaders. Our story is that we were doing our own trading amongst ourselves, and then people raided our kingdoms, and then of course they destroyed our culture, they submerged everything that we're doing and rewrote the story. Because I'm sure that very soon it will become clear, not only through the museums, but on the continent of Africa. People come to realize that the image that we have been dealing with is a wrong image.
Yes, sir.
It's the same Jesus, but it's a black. It's a black. All the characters, Abraham, everybody, Solomon, they were all black.
Yes, sir.
So we must tell this story. And there's also, when it gets to what they call slavery, sometimes they create the impression that, oh, the Africans, they sold their people to the Europeans. Wait a minute. I mean, we were doing, it's internal. We have domestic slavery. It's not chattel slavery. So we were doing all these until they had an economic need to come to Africa. They saw the resources we had. The resources we have now, God-given, have been there for years. I mean, we thank God that we still even have those mineral resources on the continent. So they saw that. That is what brought them to Africa. So David Livingstone and others redesigned the map of Africa and gave the European leaders the opportunity to sit at a table and decide that, hey, wait a minute, let's share the continent. Let's exploit the continent. King Leopold decided that
that's right.
Congo was his personal property. And so he was the general there. We had Cecil Rhodes went to Southern Africa and also occupied a large area and said that belonged to him. I mean, I beg your pardon. Why in the world can you just say, look, all these territories belong to me personally, not even to the United Kingdom? But of course, they were backed by Royal Charter, so they had all the opportunity to say we own those places. So we will examine the 1884-1885 Berlin Conference and how they put the map of Africa down. It was drawn up by David Livingstone. And then they decided to chop it into pieces like, piece of pizza, and said, the French, you take this, the English, you take this, the Germans, the Spaniards, the Portuguese. And they didn't care about ethnic groups. So the whole part of West Africa, from Ghana, through Togo, through Benin, up to some part of Nigeria, speak the same language, but they just cut them into pieces. Okay, your French, take the one in the middle, the English take this and all that. So we need to now to tell our story that we were living in our own land, and our lands were just chopped into pieces so that they could exploit the rich mineral resources. So when we tell this story, then our children will begin to understand why we are where we are.
So that's unlearning to relearn, right?
Absolutely.
Yes, yes. So let me chime in on that and kind of talk about the question that you asked me about the culture and how we see it from the United States in connection with Africa. There's a literary piece called Black History, Lost, Stolen, or Strayed. And if you haven't seen that video clip, it's something to behold, because essentially what it shows is that what we already know and what Mr. Yonka has just shared is that when you're talking about history, when you're talking about architectural designs, when you're talking about astronomy, when you're talking about medicine, it all comes from the root of Africa. When you're talking about art and artifacts, Africa. So what this literary piece does is begin to trace the so-called greats in the art world, Rembrandt, Picasso, and many of the other so-called greats. And then where do they get their vision from for the pieces that they so-called painted? Those artifacts and those things that they were painting actually came from the African civilization. They stole the concept from Africa.
Yes, sir.
So as you begin to look at this, not only in terms of a good depiction of this would be in the northern part of Africa, where you hear their story talk about the barbaric Moors coming into the southern part of Spain and Portugal, and how barbaric they were. But in actuality, the Moors brought civilization to that part of the world. Medicine, astronomy, architectural designs, and what have you. But because they wrote the history, they began to downplay the contributions of that great civilization.
Right.
So it is our desire to make sure that the story is told correctly. And see, when you begin to think about and you hear people talk about the civil wars that are going on in Africa, well, Mr. Yonka just gave you a good history lesson in terms of the conference that divided up the continent. Well, now people are trying to go back to their normal territorial boundaries, and that's where the conflict is. So yes, even the civil wars that we see today are grounded in the empirical and the colonizing agents of Europe. And hopefully through this story, we can begin to show the real importance of Africa. One thing I want to kind of go back to, you asked the question, why is the museum in Ghana? The physical museum may be in Ghana, but the concept is to bring all of Africa together under the Pan-African rubric. So it's not going to be focusing just on Ghana, but it's going to be focusing on the entire continent and also the diaspora. And I think that's what's going to make it unique. Ghana just happens to be the place where it's going to be located. It has a rich history in terms of the junction of Winneba between Cape Coast and Accra, the main road that is traveled, a big tourist road in terms of leaving Accra, going to Cape Coast and Elmina. You have to pass through this particular plot of land in order to get either place. So I think that as we begin to actualize the concept of the museum, what I want people to take away is that it is not just about the history and the artifacts of Ghana, but it's the history and the artifacts of Africans and the diaspora. That's the uniqueness of this concept.
Right.
So hold on. That's the new awakening and consciousness that you want to have people to take. Is that
exactly
correct?
Exactly, because part of what has happened is that not only have the Europeans tried to divide and keep conflict going on in Africa, but they have been very successful in creating conflict among African Americans in the United States and creating a distance between Africa and African Americans. That's because they were shaping the narrative.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have to reshape the narrative, and we have to reshape what is learned. It goes back to maybe the book that Carter G. Woodson wrote about the miseducation of the Negro.
Right.
Well, the entire Africa and African diaspora has been miseducated because those same ones who have brought hurt and harm and danger are the same ones that have been writing the history. Mm-hmm. And if you recall, Mr. Yonka was saying that the literary pieces by Africans and African Americans will be a centerpiece of what we're trying to do. And the story will be told correctly this time.
Thank you.
Well, we have to get it built. So if you will, please, let's talk about some of the mechanics. While you still have the mic, Dr. Silver, talk about your involvement on the board and speak to the other international boards that exist and the relationships between the USA board and those internationally, and the work that you're doing as a collective.
Well, there is no separation between the organizational structure. You have the international board, which I do have the pleasure of serving on and serving as vice chair. But you also have what, for lack of a better term, we call secretariats in all parts of the world. You got a group that's working in the United Kingdom. You got a group working in Canada. You got a group working in the United States. You got a group working in the Caribbean. But they're all working under the same auspices for the same purpose. And I want Mr. Yonka to give a little bit more information on that, because it is his brainchild. And what he has done successfully is have working groups all over the world to pull all this together. And so far, it seems to be working well.
Yes, that's true.
Wonderful.
And so representatives of all the working groups sit on the international board. But we have our headquarters in Ghana, in Accra, and that is going to be the secretariat. But everybody is working to the same mission and the same vision.
Wonderful. With that, if you will, please go into a little bit more detail in terms of what are the projected costs of the museum, and give us some sense as to the types of fundraising efforts that are underway now and those that might be able to interest our audience in terms of their participation.
Okay, let me say a few words, and Dr. Silva can continue. Let me say that the idea has received grand endorsement from the African Union. So the African Union has written letters to all the various ministries and governments on the continent to support this. We have endorsement from UNESCO, because they love the mission of our project, and particularly the heritage aspect. We have also got endorsement from the government of Ghana, which, as I'm speaking, is going to announce some financial support during the launch. And we also have the endorsement of the Association of African Universities, that is linking up all the universities, not only to put their scholarship behind it, but also to get all the students to be interested in what we're going to do. So, but in terms of fundraising, every branch has the opportunity to use all the means available. And in the UK, they have decided on a program to reach out to individuals, companies, those who have something to pay for because of the role they played during the era of slave trade, and all well-meaning people who consider that it's important to now put humanity first and talk about equality, social justice. We expect that all of them will be part of it. But certainly, whatever we raise this year, we plan to start the groundbreaking so that within 2.5 years, the museum will be up and operating.
Yeah, I want to piggyback off of Mr. Yonka's comments. One of the things that we're hoping is that well-meaning people across the world will see the value of this project and see it as a legitimate investment. So we want to make sure that well-heeled people in the United States, both African Americans and of other hues, will see the benefit of investing in this museum. Also, we know that there's this concept of multinational corporations who may be headquartered in the United States, but also have bases in different parts of Africa. They have benefited over the years from that unequal relationship. And so we're hoping that they will see fit to make sure that they give back to the continent. But you have also some very well-heeled financial folk in the United States who are African Americans, athletes, movie stars, business people. We want them to also see the value in this and also invest in this. To me, other people's money will be good, but what would be absolutely excellent is if African and African Americans put forth their pocketbooks also to make sure that this works. It's got to be a massive fundraising effort, because anything of this magnitude has to have the support of a lot of folk. What I'm hoping is that there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people who have the capacity to give signature gifts that could actually put this museum into place without any struggle or what have you. In a real sense, when we say $30 to $40 million, it seems like it's a lot of money. But if folk come together for a common purpose, they can raise this money plus. And what we have to begin thinking about is the long-term need of the museum. So not only to get it up from a structural standpoint, but also to keep it going. I hope that Mr. Yonka talks about the residency that we envision, and also the council of scholars that you have pulling together not only artifacts, but also the written history. So I think that's very key and should be of interest to our audience, Mr. Yonka.
Okay.
Yes, we have. Sorry.
Hold on, sir. Before you begin, you just took my question, Dr. Silva. There's something that said about creating a modern scholarly Black Panther. So I think that's along the same lines. Go ahead.
Yes, we currently have a 22-member academic council made up of distinguished African and African American Caribbean scholars who have written and published books in this direction. They include Molefi Kete Asante, they include Maulana Karenga, they include Abba Karutas, they include others from outside of America. We have Dr. Barry Shepherd from West Indies, University of West Indies. We have Dr. Aurora Figuera from Colombia in South America. We have Professor Washington Obey from Ghana. We have Professor Buzia, who used to be a lecturer at Rutgers University.
Yes, sir.
She is in Brazil at the moment.
Yeah, she's a diplomat now.
Precisely. So they are all over the world, and they are all bringing their scholarship and their energy and everything behind this project. So they are the ones that we've put together to continue to validate the narrative as we go on, so that people will know that this is a very serious project, and we have the brains behind them. But that doesn't close the gap. There are still more scholars being nominated to serve on the academic council, so we are still open. We have Carol Boyce Davis from the Africana Studies Department in Ithaca, New York. What's the university? Cornell. And we have 2 professors from Howard University, Dr. Muhammad Kamara. We have Dr. Catherine Morgan from University of Alabama, spread all across the world. So it is a very exciting project. We have one of the best curators, Dr. Dr. Babakar Mbo, whose father used to be the Director General of the UNESCO. He himself has been in the museum business for 40 years, in the United States about 25 years, and he's our chief curator managing the project. So we have put together some of the best that you can think of to direct this project.
So that's what you mean by a scholarly Black Panther.
Yes.
Thank you.
Right.
Segment
Go ahead, Mr.
in the community that may not be as excited about either sponsoring or supporting this effort, and that there may be a situation where you may find yourself having to compete for limited resources among our peoples, African peoples in the diaspora. What types of strategies or what type of outreach efforts have you begun in order to try to mitigate those types of competitions for limited resources?
Okay, let me start on from here. We have, in the last couple of days and weeks, received calls from Baptist churches across the U.S. They want to be part of it. They want to be part of fundraising in America. We have received also connections to some established leaders, community leaders, who are using their network also to bring people together. Most of them think that they would start moving after the launch. So after the launch on 21st of September, then they are going to move into various modes to get people now to come forward. There will be a general open source link on our website for people to donate anything. You can donate $10, $200. All those GoFundMe techniques will be used for people to donate anything that they can afford from here in America, from Africa, from the Caribbean. From the way the people have responded to this idea, I am confident that within 2 years, we'll be able to build the museum.
The way the organization has been put together, everywhere that there is a branch, they are also charged with fundraising. And so in the UK, for an example, or in the United States, so there is a team on the ground that is plotting the strategy to raise those funds. What I'm hoping is in the United States, as you know, in the academic disciplines, just about every discipline or every activity, there is a branch that is about us. Say, for an example, I'm a political scientist. There's the American Political Scientists, but there's also the National Conference of Black Political Scientists, which I was the president of in 2 terms. I'm hoping that these organizations, these Black discipline organizations, will see the benefit of coming together and working with us to not only raise funds, but also to get materials for the museum. Also, if you think about the Divine Nine in the United States, the Divine Nine, which are the fraternities and the sororities, it's a huge network. And when you begin to think about that membership and what they bring to the table, we're hoping that they will too see the benefit of investing in such a project. Because within that whole history of the diaspora, when you're talking about the Americas and United States in particular, you're going to have to be talking about some of that history. So if it's going to be talked about, hopefully these folk will also see themselves as investors in this project. And that's the kind of way I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at it as people giving money to the project. I'm looking at its people investing in the project to make sure that, one, history is told correctly, but also for posterity's sake, where the young people coming behind us will benefit from this. Lest you be perceived, misinterpreted when you look at the pictures that are on the screen right now. Mr. Yonka is my senior, and he's my big brother. So the question is, in his senior years, why is he taking on this mammoth project? To me, that tells the entire story. It's the desire to make sure that the people that come behind him and behind us have a clear understanding of who they are and whose they are. It would also debunk some of the myths about African American people, where they talk about what we cannot do in the various disciplines of engineering and science and medicine. But all of this started with Black people on the continent. So they can't say we can't do this, because Black people created the math, the science, the medicine. And so I'm looking at this as a legacy and a gift. If you heard me earlier say it's a gift to the world, it's a gift to the American people, it's a gift to the African people, it's a gift to people all over the world. And I'm hoping that people will see the uniqueness of this gift and choose to invest in it.
Not to be, we're running out of time, and I just got a message. If we could get the telephone number so we can get a caller, somebody other than the panelists, they want to ask a question. So if we could see the telephone number so someone can call in, that would be very good.
Yes, and while that number is being put up, please, if you will, please, gentlemen, talk to us a little bit more in the limited time that we do have about what we should expect on the launch, and how and what can we do to galvanize our community to ensure that those who might want to participate have the opportunity and certainly becomes aware of it.
There is a connection through our website. Our website is www.pahw.org. And that gives you the link to register. There will be other accesses open on our Facebook, PAHW Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, and also on LinkedIn. So all these accesses will be available for registration. We are using Hopin, so it's important for people to register to be recognized and given the opportunity to sit in. We are expecting about 5,000 people to register and be part of this on the 21st. Now, let me say, in terms of those who are appearing, we have the president of Ghana, who is the ultimate performer that night. But before him, we will hear from some of our scholars whom I have mentioned. They will make some statements about the project. We'll hear from 2 African Yoruba kings from Nigeria. They will make a statement. We will hear from the African Union. We will hear from UNESCO. We'll hear from the Association of African Universities. And then we've invited some 2 young men, musicians, artists, to also perform. One from Ghana, one from the United States, to also perform. So we're going to have 1 hour and 30 minutes of education, engagement, entertainment, but more important, we will have a very inspiring message on the 21st.
Yeah, I was just saying, the rapper, I'm looking forward to hearing him, the Ghanaian rapper, Sarkodie. I heard some of his music today.
Aha, Sarkodie.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing it.
Okay, I'll let you know you are standing by.
And Dr. Silver, while we do have some time left, could you speak to any efforts that you have going on here locally within the states that you might want to also highlight so that you can begin to generate some interest and support behind those efforts as well?
Yes, the team in the United States is working very feverishly in terms of getting the press releases together, to get the fundraising team together, and to get the organizational structure together. Mr. Yonka has put together a team in the United States that I think is second to none. And so all of this is in the embryonic stages. And so we're going to have to develop the strategy in terms of how do we onboard people who want to be a part of this initiative. Because part of what we got to make sure is that we want all people to come, but we want them to have the shared vision that the museum emanates from. So we're opening it up to different people. We're setting the stages and getting the legal documents together in terms of what does it mean to be affiliated with the museum. We have in the United States, under the leadership of Mr. Yonka and Mandy, 503C designation so that fundraising can take place within the United States, and it also will be a contribution, charitable contribution, and a write-off. So we're in the embryonic stages, and after the launch on the 21st, we'll all have our marching orders in terms of going forward and to solidifying some of those things that we now are planning.
Appreciate that, sir. Brother Yonka, is there anything that we have not discussed or have not covered that would be so critical to your message this evening in order to get everybody on board for the 21st launch and get them excited about those efforts to come after that?
Yes, I'm saying that before the 21st, our website, at the moment, we only have the landing page, but our website is going to be opened up. So all the information that we have will be appearing on the website. People will have the opportunity to know who to call, where to go to, which organization to contact. And we want this to be a mass thing. We want people to belong, not just as contributors, but also part of the movement. We think that we've started a movement to bring people of African descent together, to unite, and also to learn about themselves and join together to build. You know, Africa has recognized the diaspora as the 6th region of the continent. So the African Union recognizes people of African descent. Only 2 days ago, the Ghana government launched what they call the pillars, the 7 pillars behind beyond the return. And government is thinking of how to make how to make visa acquisition easy for people of African descent to come down. So that is being considered. The government of Ghana is considering citizenship status, how to facilitate that for people of African descent. Now that we have the African Union recognizing the African diaspora as the 6th region of Africa, a lot of consideration is going on to make it easy for people to move from here to there, go work in Ghana and come back, or relocate to Ghana anyhow. So this has been actively considered, and I think it's a very important move on the continent to open its arms to, you know, kith and kin who were taken away against their will to other lands. But apart from that, we also want to generate this interest among the youth, that they have something to look up to. They need now to get their shoulders high. You know, the level of self-confidence must go higher, not only here, but also on the continent, so that we know that we can protect what we have. There's so much going on in Africa. I'm sure everybody is reading. All the European countries, Asian countries, everybody is moving to Africa. And the question is, why is everybody moving there? It's not different from what happened in the 19th century. So it's important that we go back and own our own. and make sure that we get back our pride, our civilization, our history, our culture. Instead of borrowing from other cultures, let us be proud of what we have. Let us hold it firmly, protect it, and let us teach generations yet unborn what we are made of. And I believe that at the end of the day, as Dr. Silver said, this will become a lasting legacy that will continue for a long time. We will need every generation to pick from it and then pass it on. So this is a project for everybody.
Wonderful. Very well said, sir. Indeed, we do commend all of your efforts, both you and Dr. Silver, to bring this, the Pan-African Heritage World Museum to fruition. And Godspeed and God's prayers to you both.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having us this evening.
Thank you.
It's
Thank
been my
you,
honor.
And thank
It's been my honor,
today.
sir.
We thank Afrique Today, and please give our best regards to Dr. Butler.
Yes.
Family. Our condolences go out to her, and she'll be in our prayers.
Sir.
And
I should,
thanks
thank you very
for
much.
being there.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
It's been my honor.
Okay.